What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy, camATL, and welcome back to another video. Thank you guys for joining me as always. As you guys know, in the beginning of the week, we do the first look lineup video, and then I tell you guys every time we're going to come back on Friday and we're going to do a full slate breakdown. The first look lineup is just a first look gut call at the slate. And then as the week goes on and things change and more news comes out, I do a more in-depth breakdown on Fridays. And that is what we are here to do. Welcome back. Drop a like down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Comment in the comment section who you think is going to be the top scoring DraftKings player of the week. And whoever gets closest, okay, I will choose whoever gets closest. Doesn't even have to be exact, okay, like we've been doing all week, all year. Whoever gets the closest, I will be sending $50 through PayPal. All right, so I will be announcing the winner of that on my next video that I do. So good luck. Comment who you think scores the most fantasy points down below in their point total, and whoever ends up the closest will be the person I choose for $50. Welcome back. Thank you guys for joining me. Let's get straight into it. I'm not going to keep up too much of your time. We got a lot to touch on, and so yeah, let's do this. All right, week 15. Let's get it. We have been on a hot streak, especially with the NBA preseason. We are undefeated in NBA preseason so far. I've had a lot of people come and ask me why I don't do videos and stuff like that. I've responded to this before, I believe, but the main reason is because in the preseason, especially during the regular season, I'll be doing videos daily. But in the preseason, especially, there is no set in stone for minutes, especially in the morning time when people post videos giving advice on NBA. You just don't know shit. You know what I mean? Like, the only people who post videos, at the end of the day, the people who post help videos for DFS are supposed to be doing it to help people succeed and actually give people good advice so that they're actually able to do well, right? You can't possibly give good information and know enough for NBA DFS in the morning to post videos trying to help people. Okay, the only people posting those videos are not doing it to help people. They're doing it because they want the likes a lot and they want subscribers and it makes them feel good about themselves and shit. Those are the people who post videos for NBA DFS preseason. There's no reason to do preseason videos. Nobody knows shit until really later on in the day. So there's no reason to do videos in the morning when you don't know a damn thing. You feel what I'm saying? So, when regular season comes, though, y'all can expect to hear daily videos from your boy. I will be here ready to go. I might post NBA videos at night, the night before. Might start doing that again, but we'll see. Anyway, let's get into it. Starting off at quarterback this week. First quarterback I want to talk about is Lamar Jackson, okay? Because he went to the bathroom in the last game and he seemed to come back rejuvenated. Okay, whatever was messing up his stomach, he was able to like get it all out during that break in that game, and he was able to come back, and he just looked like a whole new person. So I'm definitely interested in playing him for sure because he's at home in Baltimore. So he hasn't had to use a visiting bathroom, which is great. You guys know how it is. Sometimes when you're on the road, on the go, you just don't want to use other people's bathrooms. You feel more comfortable when you're able to use your bathroom. So imagine Lamar Jackson being able to use his own bathroom all week. Like, come on. Dude's in a great position. Going against Jacksonville, too. Horrible. I mean, they're bad against the run. They're bad against the pass. I mean, everywhere you look at it, Lamar Jackson should be one of the safest options on this entire slate. Love Lamar. He should be even faster than normal, seeing he's emptied out. Okay, I'm done. I'm going to stop messing with him. But anyway, Lamar at home in Baltimore going against Jacksonville. Matchup is prime. 7-5. He's probably got one of the better floors on the entire slate. All right, so I love Lamar Jackson. You don't have to necessarily pair Lamar up with anybody. He's one of those guys who he does a lot with his feet, more with his feet than his arm most of the time. So you don't have to pair him up with anybody. So don't stress over that either. All right, next up, I talked about him in the first look lineup. I'm still all over it. Jared Goff going against the Jets. The Jets have been the worst secondary in the league for majority of the year, especially the last 4 weeks. They've just been absolutely getting destroyed. The Rams are at home in Los Angeles. I mean, this situation is just prime for Jared Goff to have a very solid game. Now, Goff has some upside. Okay, he's had 4 games where he almost got over 30. Well, he got one over 30 DraftKings points against Buffalo. Then he got 3 other games almost hitting 30. And this is a team that likes to run the ball a lot. So for him to hit 30, that's great. So the only thing you worry about is possible blowout, but at the end of the day, I'm just not going to put too much merit on that unless it's just, oh my God, so crazy obvious. I'm not going to put too much merit on it. If you want to, I understand. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go solely off matchup and who's in the best spot. We've seen a million times this year where a team will be up big and still be throwing for touchdowns. So I'm not going to put too much merit on that anymore unless it's just a crazy blowout that I'm expecting. But Jared Goff at home in Los Angeles going against the Jets. Absolutely love him in this matchup. Like I said, the Jets are the worst secondary in the league. They've just been getting dominated. All right. If a defense gives up almost 36 to Derek Carr, you know that's a defense you want to target against. All right. Next up, let's talk about who do I want to talk about? Let's talk about Tom Brady. Let's talk about Tom Brady going against my Atlanta Falcons in a dome. Tom Brady has a ton of weapons. We know that. He's got Gronk. He's got Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Ton of weapons. Okay? Great weapons. The issue here is that Atlanta actually has not been too bad. Like, secondary-wise, they have not been horrible. Now, I wouldn't put too much merit in that, but at the end of the day, it comes down to, here's what it comes down to. The only issue with Brady, because everything calculates well and it looks great, right? The only issue with Brady is that he is in the same price range as guys like Jared Goff at 6'3". It's under $1,000 to get Lamar Jackson, who feels like he's got a better floor. But this is Tom Brady. He did almost drop a 40 against Las Vegas week 7. So Tom Brady is a solid GPP option especially, and I would not hate you for stacking up some Tampa Bay and then on the other side taking advantage of Julio being out. Completely understand that for GPPs, all right? Now, let's talk about Phillip Rivers, because this is a spot I really like too. Phillip Rivers is at home in a dome, 5'9", okay? Now, fantastic spot here. Now, he's faced Houston already. He got 19 DraftKings points, threw for 285 yards, 2 touchdowns. This is a Houston secondary that is not very good. The Colts are at home. Rivers and T.Y. Hilton have had a good little chemistry lately. I'm completely fine with pairing those two guys up together, and both of them together are just really well priced, plain and simple. Now, the only reason you run into is, once again, Phillip Rivers and Jared Goff are really close. It's a $400 difference to get up to Goff. Now, the difference here is I would expect this game to be a shootout, okay? I would expect this game to be one of the shootouts of the week. Now, do you expect the Rams and the Jets to be a shootout? It would be hard to call that. But like I said, it's really hard to call how you think. Like, you know, you could try your hardest. You could look at all the information you can look at, but so many times this year, especially this year, things just go opposite of what you expect. So if that Jets game stays close with the Rams, Jared Goff is going to dominate, and you're going to wish you had Goff. If that game is a blowout, you're going to wish you had Rivers against Houston in what is most likely going to be a back-and-forth battle there. All right. Another issue you have with Rivers, though, is that Houston's one of the worst run defenses in the league, so Colts might know that, and they might just pound the rock a ton. Anyways, next quarterback. I want to talk about the rookie, man, because this is one of the guys I've been looking at in those box breaks. If you haven't checked it out yet, if you love sports or love sports card collecting or just love breaking boxes open like it's Christmas, GLDbreaks.com is my other thing I got going on that I've been doing at nighttime. You guys might have seen me live breaking boxes before. Super fun to do, super cool to get involved in. A lot of people are starting, like cards especially, are booming. It's an industry where it's just a great investment as well because cards are just going up. You know what I mean? It's like the stock market with these cards. You grab a player when he's low, and then once he smashes, you could flip that shit. So it's a great investment. It's especially for the gambling world. People who like to take a gamble and take a chance on hitting big, that's how you do it. A guy got into one of my box breaks at GLD Breaks for a Rookies and Stars 2020 Rookies and Stars football. He paid $65 to get the spot, right? We had a 8-division random division draw. He ended up getting the Kansas City Chiefs division and got a Patrick Mahomes 1-of-1 that is worth over $1,200. So he just made a whole bunch of money. I'm not going to try to calculate it because I'm not great at math at this moment, especially because it's morning time. If I was doing this video at nighttime and my brain was fully developed, maybe I'd be able to do it for you. But period, $65 to over $1,200, great investment. That's all I'm saying for the people who are questioning box breaking. Trust me, it's actually something that's interesting. Now, Jalen Hurts. Let's get into that, by the way, because that got me on a whole tangent about box breaks because Jalen Hurts is a guy I've definitely been interested in because guess what? His cards were super duper cheap. You could get his cards for like $1 something, his rookie cards. Now, no, you can't. They jumped up. You know why? Because he's now in the game and he's been looking good. This is a guy that I would invest in cards wise. This is a guy I look for. Now, going against Arizona, we know Arizona is a fast-paced team. This is in Arizona in a dome. We have a lot of quarterbacks in domes in great spots this week. Jalen Hurts is another guy like Lamar Jackson who can do it with his feet very well, by the way. He is a nice sized quarterback who can run with his feet, and he's only 5'9". So I have a lot of interest in Jalen Hurts this week because he could do it with his feet, and Arizona's not a shutdown defense. This should be a close battle. I really like Jalen Hurts here, and he opens up so much with that threat with his feet. I love him. I think he's going to be a solid quarterback in the league, and I'm so happy that Philly finally took out Wentz to put him in. That was so dumb to give him the money they gave him anyways. So, yeah, Hurts is the new guy there, and he is a great option this week. Love him at 5'9". Who else? Let's talk Drew Brees because he's back. He's taking first team reps. I know it says IR on here, but he is back. He is expected to start. That is a bump to Alvin Kamara. That's a bump to Michael Thomas. That's a bump to Jared Cook. Everybody on that New Orleans offense, there's a bump. Now, they're in fantastic spots this week. They're facing Kansas City, which you know, in a dome, once again, we know how good Drew Brees is at home in a dome. Now, I understand there's a little bit of a question, like how well is he going to be? The dude had some fractured ribs. He was struggling. He had a punctured lung. Like, how good can he possibly be? This is Drew Brees. He's a vet. He's a tough-ass dude. He could go out here throw for over 300 yards. Doesn't matter if he can breathe or not. He could be in the verge of passing out and still do his thing because he's a vet. He's a tough dude. Plain and simple. We know that about him. Now, he's at home in New Orleans going against Kansas City. This game should be a good-ass game. This is one of the games I want some exposure to for sure because we know on the Kansas City side, there is nobody for New Orleans who can possibly even fathom keeping up with Tyreek Hill. Okay, let's just be honest. There's none of these New Orleans linebackers can possibly fathom guarding Travis Kelce. So Mahomes, Hill, and Kelce are going to feast. Regardless of how good New Orleans Saints defense has been, they've been great. They have not faced this type of defense. Plain and simple, okay? This type of offense. This type of offense is just unstoppable. It's ridiculous, okay? So, this game should be a great game. I definitely have interest in Drew Brees for sure. So, if you feel comfortable that Drew Brees is 100, trust me, guys. If this team thought that Drew Brees was not 100% and good to go and to be his normal self, he would not be out there this week. Okay? So expect him to be full go. I really love him and Jalen Hurts at that 5'9" price tag. It's beautiful. Now, let's go ahead and go over to running back. I've been on quarterback for a lot. I've pretty much talked about my core quarterbacks that I love. Let's see. Let's start off with Tampa Bay because the situation in Tampa Bay is interesting. Ronald Jones has been placed on the COVID list. Okay? So, that comes down to it's looking like it's going to be a lot of Leonard Fournette, LaShawn McCoy. Are they going to let Fournette eat? That is the question. It's looking like he will. Now, we got to pay attention to Ronald Jones. Make sure he does miss. I'm expecting him to miss. So, Leonard Fournette, dude, with no Ronald Jones is going to be, come on. Like, let's not even try to overthink this. Keep an eye on it. LaShawn McCoy is going to be mixed in. The rookie Keyshawn Vaughn's going to get some mixed in too, yes. But Leonard Fournette is the main guy, okay? And it is a great spot for him. Oh, Ronald Jones is having to undergo finger surgery, so he definitely is going to miss. So it's not just the COVID list. He's definitely going to miss, and Fournette is going to be starting. So this is fantastic. All right, Leonard Fournette is in a fantastic spot. Don't overthink it against Atlanta. Tom Brady loves to dump those little dump-offs to his running back when nothing's open downfield. So Leonard Fournette's a fantastic option. Who else do we want to talk about? Let's talk about, you know what? Let's talk about the king. Let's talk about the motherfucking king. Derrick Henry at home in Tennessee going against Detroit. This is just so beautiful. It's so hard because, man, I've made the wrong decision on Derrick Henry more times than not, okay? Like, I know that he's a great option, but I think to myself, there's no way a guy can possibly drop over 40 again, right? Like, there's no way this dude comes. Like, the defense knows what's coming. There's no way that he can continue to drop this, right? He's got to come down to reality. So if the dude's super, super chalky, the way I see it, if the dude's going to be super, super chalky and he's 9.5, you know what I mean? No, this is not what I'm saying. I love Derrick Henry. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying my GPP sided part of my mind. Okay, you know I prefer cash single entry double ups, but this GPP part of my mind tells me like, man, wouldn't it be great though if everybody was on Henry and it ended up not being a Henry game and he ended up coming back down a little bit, and that would be easy money at that point because Henry's going to be so high owned. So I just want to make that point. Henry's going to be super high owned, but the matchup against Detroit cannot be any better. Okay, so it is a huge risk to fade him. I love Derrick Henry, especially in cash games. Figure it out, dude. You've got Jalen Hurts, Drew Brees under 6K. You can figure it out, okay? Plain and simple. Just figure it out. Okay, like it's not that big of a deal. If you want to get sneaky and get off of the major chalk of Derrick Henry, do it. Okay, and guys around Derrick Henry that I'm fine with you getting off of for. Let's talk about him. The rookie, Jonathan Taylor, going against Houston. I mentioned it with Phillip Rivers. The one thing we worry about Phillip Rivers is if they realize, okay, we can run all over this team. No reason to throw it a million times. Jonathan Taylor is a solid running back, man. He just needs his opportunity to be there. In the last few weeks, it's been there. 22 DraftKings points, 33 DraftKings points. Now he gets to go against Houston, one of the league's worst run defenses that just gave up almost 28 to David Montgomery. Plain and simple, Houston has been getting gashed. The holes that offensive lines are creating for the run game are just like the sea parting, okay? It is just ridiculous, okay? It's just absolutely wild. It's like driving down a 4-lane highway at like 3 a.m. when nobody's out. Like there's like 1 to 2 every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like when I moved to Texas and drove here from Georgia, my route from Georgia, there's a time at like 4 a.m. or so when you're going down this road where if you break down, you're screwed because there's nothing within miles and miles and miles, and that's exactly what it is here. Houston's defense is that bad that they're kind of like that. Like there's nobody around for a long time, so these guys can easily just run right through it. And Taylor's at home in a dome, so yeah, Jonathan Taylor 7-2. I love him. Let's talk about Alvin Kamara. Drew Brees is back, and that means Alvin Kamara is a huge bump. He could be one of the top running backs of the slate. He is $2,100 less than Derrick Henry. That's all I'm saying. Like, look, don't come back to this video and say how stupid. And once Derrick Henry smashes, and say how stupid are you? Like you recommended in GPP that we fade Derrick Henry. Look, dude, I love Derrick Henry. I'm just saying in GPP he's going to be high owned and it might be sneaky. I'm just saying if he ends up having a normalish game and gets 15, and the guy you replace him with smashes, you're going to be at the top easily. It's going to automatically make it an easier week for you. That's all I'm going to say. Am I fading Derrick Henry? Probably not. But I just want to make that point. Alvin Kamara at 2,100 less with Drew Brees back going against Kansas City. One of the worst run defenses as well. They get gashed as well in a game where New Orleans will probably have to throw a lot too, and Kamara's going to catch a lot of passes too. It's just, man, come on. Alvin Kamara's fantastic. Let's talk Cam Akers. I got to get through this a little bit quicker. I've been just rambling. Cam Akers at 6'6" going against the Jets. Now, the Jets have done a solid job versus the run. Not too bad. But like I said last week, game script-wise here, could end up being good for the run game. Chris Carson almost got 20 DraftKings points last week because the game script was so in Seattle's favor. Now, I expected more out of Carson. I expected 25 or more. But at the end of the day, Cam Akers looked fantastic last week. He's had 21 carries against Arizona, 29 carries against New England. When it comes to workload, this boy is going to have it. He is their rookie. They're realizing they need to feed him. And Cam Akers going against the Jets. The Jets have done a decent job against the run this year. Don't get me wrong. But you know what's a bright side too is Cam Akers is going to get 3 to 5 targets as well. So expect Cam Akers to get the 3 to 5 targets, 25 carries possibly, which is crazy for a guy at 6'6". Regardless of how good the Jets' run D has been, he's in play for sure. Let's talk Kenyon Drake because the boy's been, showing up. Kenyon Drake has been fairly consistent since week 10. 13, 16, 24, 13, 16. Not too bad. A lot different than the Kenyon Drake we saw earlier in the year where he got games with a 3 and a 5 and shit like that. We know the type of upside he possesses, like the 42 and the 36 he got last year, week 15 and week 16. Kenyon Drake has been getting some decent targets. It does kind of go up and down, though, which is the problem. 16 carries against Buffalo week 10. 11 carries week 11 against Seattle, 22 against New England, 10 versus the Rams, and then 23 against the Giants. It comes down to game script of how many carries he's going to get. Now, if you think Arizona gets up and gets in a solid lead here, Kenyon Drake is going to be a fantastic play at 5-5. If you think the game's a shootout, Kenyon Drake's probably not your guy. Okay? Plain and simple. Let's talk J.K. Dobbins. Because, man, if Lamar Jackson gets bubble guts again, they're going to use him a lot more, okay? J.K. Dobbins at home in Baltimore going against Jacksonville. The problem is he hasn't been getting a ton of work, unfortunately. This kid obviously shows that he can run the rock, okay? And this matchup against Jacksonville, I mean, Derrick Henry got 40 almost. Dalvin Cook the week before that got 27. Nick Chubb the week before that almost got 30. They've been getting gashed. The only issue you have here is Baltimore has so many options. Okay, they have when it comes to the run game, especially you have Lamar Jackson that already runs a lot. You have Gus Edwards that's going to be there. You have Mark Ingram. Like you just have a lot of mouths to feed, which is why his amount of touches he gets is capped off. If I was Baltimore though, I would start working my young boy up, start getting his reps up, because this is obviously your guy. Mark Ingram doesn't have much longer in the league. Gus Edwards is not your guy you want to be your number one. J.K. Dobbins is. And then you want to bring Gus Edwards in, maybe third downs or something. I don't know. But J.K. Dobbins is your guy, plain and simple. You didn't draft him to not use him. So he needs to get his reps up. At 5'9", I like him. Who else? And then we'll move on. Miles Sanders at 6'9", had a great game last week. But, man, Miles Sanders is one of the most inconsistent guys you can possibly imagine. He got 14 carries, which isn't great. You want upwards of 20 most of the time for your running backs. You want a guy who's going to get solid exposure. He did get 5 targets, 4 receptions with Jalen Hurts at quarterback. He did get in the end zone twice too, but he's very touchdown dependent. You're praying he gets over 100 rushing yards. Miles Sanders is a tough one. Tough pill to swallow. And then Leonard Fournette, love him as well. Let's go wide receiver. I already talked about Fournette though. I'm not going to take up too much of your time here. We're going to go through this fairly quickly because we're over the 20-minute mark and we're just getting to wide receiver. Let's start T.Y. Hilton. Plain and simple. If you go Phillip Rivers, go T.Y. Hilton. The matchup against Houston is fantastic. It's at home in a dome. T.Y.'s been an absolute baller, finding the end zone. 18, 28, 25 the last 3 weeks. Yes, sir. Let's talk about Brandon Ayuk. I love this rookie, and he's another guy whose cards are just going up as he gets better and better. I saw this dude's cards for like 50 cents at one point, and now they're not. Okay? Brandon Ayuk, especially with Deebo Samuel out going against Dallas, it just can't get any better than that. Plain and simple. It can't be. It can't. It just can't. All right? I'm going to move on. A.J. Brown. Let's talk about my boy A.J. Brown. Now, he's got the questionable tag. He did not practice Thursday. He was at practice, but he did not practice, and he was limited Wednesday. This isn't great, but he normally does get rested on Thursdays, so I would expect him to play. A.J. Brown against Detroit is decent, but the problem is if you're expecting Derrick Henry to smash again, there's just no reason for you to reach for A.J. Brown. Look, at the end of the day, it's not something that's horribly correlated, though, because Derrick Henry just smashed last week, and A.J. Brown still got 27. 9 targets, 7 catches for 112 yards. If you think this game stays close, you can pair him up. And in GPP, that's fine, because Brown will be low owned if people are going Derrick Henry. Let's talk Cooper Kupp, because if you're going Jared Goff, you're going to want some pass catchers. Cooper Kupp. Robert Woods is questionable right now, so keep an eye on that. But he did upgrade to limited on Thursday, so I'm expecting he plays. Kupp, Robert Woods, guys are in play for sure for the Rams. All right. Who else? Let's talk. All right, real quick, I'm going to pair them all up. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, and Rob Gronkowski are all playable this week against Atlanta. I don't need to explain that too much. You get why. Especially Mike Evans on the outside against Denard. Fantastic option against Denard. He's been giving it up, so love him. Allen Robinson. This dude is such a stud, man. Imagine if he had a good quarterback. Like, imagine if he had an Aaron Rodgers for his quarterback, or a Drew Brees, or a Tom Brady. Like, this dude would be he's already one of the top receivers in the league, but he would be so freaking good, man. If I was him, I would want out of Chicago, to be real with you. Going against Minnesota is a fantastic situation here. He's been balling. 13 targets week 12, 2 touchdowns. 7 targets against Detroit, and then 13 targets again against Houston, and a touchdown. Dude is just, he gets in the end zone. He gets so many targets, and this game should be a shootout, a game where Chicago should definitely have to throw in a dome in Minnesota. Love Allen Robinson at 7-4. Who else? Tyreek Hill I talked about for Kansas City, especially if you're going Patrick Mahomes and you want to get a ton of exposure to this game, which I'm completely okay with. Um, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce paired up with Mahomes, running it back on the other side with uh, Alvin Kamara and Michael Thomas. I get it. This is like a playoff type game right here. This is sick. This is going to be a great game. I'm excited for it for sure. It's going to be fun to watch. Let's talk about Julio Jones being out is definitely a bump to Calvin Ridley. Our boy Calvin Ridley right here. Calvin is a beast with no Julio Jones in the lineup. He's been getting limited practices all week. I'm expecting him to play, though, and especially with Julio out. Last week, Julio out, 12 targets. 10 targets, 12 targets the last 2 weeks. He averages over 10 targets a game. He got in the end zone last week, got over 100 yards. I'm expecting over 100 yards once again. The matchup's not ideal, but especially if you stack up Tampa Bay and you go Brady paired up with some of his pass catchers or something, I mean, it makes sense to run it back on the other side. Ridley is 8-2 because Julio is out. Okay? But Tampa Bay, honestly, like, the matchup against Carlton Davis isn't as scary as we thought it was at the beginning of the year, honestly. Like, Carlton is a solid corner, but he's just been getting burnt, man. Tampa Bay's secondary has not been very good. They really have not been very good. They're one of the bottom ones, actually, the last 4 weeks especially. One of the bottom defense secondaries in the league. And that has a lot to do with Tyreek Hill burning him, but Tyreek Hill can burn anyone. There's nobody fast enough for him. You know what I mean? So, yeah. So, but Calvin Ridley is definitely in play, especially if you get some Tampa Bay in your lineup. Okay, to run it back with that side is completely fine. Anybody else I want to talk about real quick? Let me just brush over. That's about it, man. Let's move on. Let's go tight end. First thing I want to mention is Gesicki is expected to miss. So with Gesicki out, he is a big-time target, okay? He is a big-time target for this one, for this offense in general. With him missing is a big deal, okay? Plain and simple. It is a big deal. He was listed on Thursday, so keep an eye on it. If he's not able to play, you're going to have guys like Adam Shaheen and Durham Smythe who are going to be decently involved because our boy Tua obviously loves to target his tight end, especially down in the red zone. So expect there to be some good Miami value if Gesicki misses. All right. Now, let's talk about all of it, period. Let's talk tight end in general. Now, number one, Travis Kelce, if you have the money, is always going to be at the top of the list, okay? This game in general, you know I love it, especially if you go Pat Mahomes. Travis Kelce's fantastic. If you do want to pair up Lamar Jackson with somebody, Mark Andrews is his guy. If you do go Drew Brees and you want some exposure, Jared Cook at only 3-4 is not too bad in a game where New Orleans should be having to throw. Not too bad at home in a dome with his boy Drew Brees back. All right. I talked about Gronk multiple times in this video. He's 4-2 going against Atlanta. You can't get much better than a matchup against Atlanta. Plain and simple. Dallas Goedert's still been getting solid targets. Who else? Hayden Hurst in a game with no Julio. Most likely playing catch-up here in a dome against Tampa Bay. I like Hayden Hurst. And that's about it, man. It's not a fantastic spot, honestly. If you want to go Gerald Everett at 3-1 against the Jets, I completely understand. Tight ends have been dominating, and Everett is the guy who runs a ton of routes for the Rams at tight end. So Gerald Everett at 3-1 is definitely interesting here with the way the Jets have been giving up points to tight ends. So I definitely like Gerald Everett. Tyler Higbee is solid as well at 3-8. I prefer Everett, just because he's the guy who just seems better to me in my mind. He's got more upside, in my opinion. And then let's talk defenses. You know, most of the time I'm completely fine with punting defenses, guys. Like, I really don't care. If you punt defense this week, when it comes to super punts, probably Vikings defense. If you want to spend up, the Rams defense against the Jets, no-brainer at home in Los Angeles. Who else do we got that I would feel good with? Maybe the Seahawks against Washington. Washington's been okay, but Seahawks against Washington is interesting. The Ravens defense against Jacksonville. The Buccaneers at 3K against Atlanta. Yeah, there's no super low punt defenses that I'm interested in. Washington football team's been putting a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. What I like to do is find a defense that's at home. Okay, do a little research. Find a defense that's at home. facing a team who gives up a lot of sacks, and that defense sacks a lot. You want a defense that's going to get a lot of pressure. So look at offensive line strengths. That's what I like to do when it comes to picking my defense. I like to look at offensive line strengths and see how I like to pick on the weak offensive lines in the league, and I like to send good defensive lines against them. So I pick up my matchups that way. So that way, sacks alone will give me a solid floor for my D, and then anything from there is just icing on the cake with them at home too, preferably. All right. Thank you guys for joining me as always, man. We hit over the 30-minute mark. I just love talking to y'all. That's why, Hey, greenlightdfs.com to join the squad. Let's smash week 15. Thank you guys for joining me as always. And let's get it. I'm out. Peace.